Mr. Speaker, I was going to ask the gentleman from the 22nd if he would yield.
Gentlemen can use the recognition however you want, but this is your closure.
Gracias. Mr. Speaker, with regard to the question I was going to ask the gentleman from the 22nd, I heard the gentleman mention during his discussion of the amendment that some of the funding from this would go to a particular fund within the Water Development Authority, Economic Development Enhancement Grant Fund, I believe is what he was referring to. And it's not clear to me that the funds which go into that account have to be used necessarily for water infrastructure. I seem to be aware that those funds can be used for other things. So that it's not necessarily the case that they have to be used for water infrastructure. Now, as it relates to a number of the other remarks which have been made, we've heard that this is a rules bill, and so therefore it shouldn't take up any other matters. Well, I will remind this body that a rules bill, the whole purpose of a rules bill is to establish rules and guardrails such as are not contained and should have been contained in this year-long process to get us to this point where we are today. So things such as the notification for citizens so that they know whether or not a high-impact data center is going to be built in their backyard. That's just a basic guardrail. We're not asking for anything crazy here. Having a voice and a say in the construction of a high-impact data center. Again, are we banning data centers? I don't see anything in this amendment that bans a data center. We've heard a lot of hyperbole from some in this body, falsely claiming and trying to make the argument that the amendment is banning data centers. Well, the testimony I heard from the gentleman from the, where'd he go? The 22nd, earlier, if that testimony is accurate, and I believe it generally is, most of the data centers will probably locate themselves next to rivers and sources of high volumes of water that they could use for their purposes. And yes, most of the data centers will have high efficiency chipsets that are going to be able to cool their racks and do what they need to do with a fairly minimal amount of water compared to 5, 10, or 20 years ago. But it's not the case that we have to address every data center in West Virginia to be concerned about those potential bad actors who might locate next to you, next to your community, and without any specific provisions. We've heard, the case made that, oh, well, there's this provision over here in this section of code for, water wells, and we've heard that there's this other provision over here. There's nothing specific for data centers. There's nothing to trigger any inspection from the Department of Commerce or anyone else for a data center that would like to set up shop, withdraw groundwater, potentially affect your private well that your family depends upon. Currently, there's nothing. We've had a year to put that into this rules bill, which, by the way, is just another bill like any other bill, which can be amended, which it has been, which includes these provisions, and which has been upheld for discussion and debate here today, and which we're going to take a vote on in just a little bit. There's nothing in the rule to protect your Fourth Amendment rights. What is in the rule and what is in our amendment is the authorization of the rule. That's preserved. That's not gotten rid of. It's still there. So the facts are simple. Sometimes if we're not careful, we can start to believe that we're better informed than our constituents, that their concerns are, ill-founded, ill-informed, maybe quaint in this era of the emerging technocracy. where we know best. And when this happens, we have to check ourselves. We have to search ourselves. We have to find the humility of a public servant rather than the hubris that sometimes prevails in this body. And sometimes, without a doubt, things are sensationalized. I know that sometimes social media gets carried away, but I also know that West Virginians, they know instinctively that in our legal system, trespass takes the bullet train, and redress and relief for injury, they take a horse and buggy far too often. West Virginians know that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and they're just asking for some prevention. So we've heard from people all around the state. It's not just these, far left, tree-hugging activists who send us the mass emails, which we all get. It's not those people we're talking about here today. It's the people who stop us at the gas station, in the grocery aisle, to say, what are you doing to protect us? They're not asking for us to ban data centers, and we're not. That's not what this amendment does. But they have voiced their concerns, and they're asking that we hear them. This amendment is a reasonable, level-headed approach to address these concerns which have been brought before us. Whether it's the quality of community life, water concerns, local control, concerns about surveillance, we need to take heed and put in place these common sense protections. This is the least we can do for the people who sent us up here. I'm asking for your support for this amendment. I'm asking for all of the yeas and none of the nays. Let's do this for our people. Light it up green. Thank you.
Gentleman, the 79, Delegate Hanson is recognized to close debate on the amendment.
Thank you,